two, 1, 2, 3, 4.
How are we doing? Happy St. Patrick's Day 2 days early. Yeah, we'll see if people stay away for that. So across the street is O'Grady's Pub, in case you didn't know, or in case you thought you were there already. Yeah, so O'Grady's actually opens. I've seen people out there lined up at 6 in the morning on St. Patrick's Day. Because nothing says St. Patrick's Day like a shot of the old dram before the day begins. So welcome, my name is Reverend Michael McMorrow. I'm the spiritual director here at our Center for Spiritual Living, where I'm practicing social distancing. I was looking for these blue gloves, right? 2x2 hands of blue. Any Firefly friends out there? That would have been too weird, though, so. Okay, that's not so funny. Let's move on. So, let's invite our presider for this morning. Our president also, Andrea Recht. All right, so let's just take a deep breath, recognizing and knowing that we are breathing in the very breath of divine itself, that it is breathing us as we come together for our call to service, which we call lighting the flames of faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call Spirit. That fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this morning. So as Andrea lights the first candle, it's for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. The third candle we light for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. The fourth candle we light for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. The fifth candle we light for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. The eighth candle we light for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. The ninth candle we light for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, and for the space we hold for them here at our center. And as Andrea lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experience the healing flame of God's eternal love.
There is one flame that burns in our hearts. There is one light that shines through our love. We light this flame with faith.
We light this flame with faith.
We find this light within our own souls. There is one flame, one light within.
How wonderful it is to be awake and aware to this truth, that there is just one life. One power, one presence, one life of all. No other power exists outside of the infinite. There is one power, one presence, one life. And it is living and breathing and moving and having its very beingness as all of the manifest universe, as all of creation. It is everywhere present. So I know that it's right here expressing as my life, as the life of this sacred community. And in this awareness, I declare that all is well. I know that there is harmony and peace and joy and beauty and abundance and divine health and wholeness expressing itself right here and right now. And there is nothing outside of it. This magnificent intelligence has its center everywhere and its circumference nowhere. There is no boundary to it. There is no place where I stop and it starts. It is fully expressing as all creation. And in this knowingness, I just express deep, deep, deep gratitude for all that is. I remain eternally grateful and thankful as I lovingly release this word to that aspect of it, infinite intelligence, known as law, which always and only says yes. So I know that this prayer was answered before it was spoken, and for this I remain grateful and thankful. And in agreement with this word spoken, we simply say together, and so it is. Good morning, beloved community. Oh, come on, you guys. Thank you. Yes, we are awake and alive and aware that this is a beautiful day and a wonderful time to be religious scientists, is it not? In this time of seeming uncertainty, we can stay anchored and grounded in the certainty that God is. Yes? I often talk about how grateful I am for you, my spiritual community, where we get to share, first of all, the teachings of Ernest Holmes. This is a New Thought Center based on the teachings of Ernest Holmes. And we get to fellowship with each other with common attitudes, right? And common interests. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist monk, calls Sangha the beloved community. And you are my beloved community. And I'm so grateful for you. I knew that I was going to talk about spiritual community because I always come up here and say, I'm so thankful for spiritual community. So I knew I wanted to talk about that. And then I got a text from Reverend Jessica, something Dr. Reverend Michael Beckwith Bernard said recently, I think. I don't know when he said it, but he said, spiritual community grants us immunity from the lower frequencies of life. And I believe that right now, we need immunity from the lower frequencies of life. I mean, John's, or Ralph's, or Smart and Final, or anywhere. So I am grateful for spiritual community in which we get to know that right thinking cancels everything unlike itself, cancels it out. Right thinking is the solution to every difficulty. I get to come here and be reminded that health and sickness are largely externalizations of our dominant mental and spiritual states. I get to come here, and I'm grateful that you remind me that thoughts are things, and that fear is a negative use of faith, and a belief in two powers. I was reminded of that allegedly Native American story where the grandfather is teaching his grandson about life. And he says to his grandson, you know, we each have two wolves inside of us. One wolf is good and the other is evil. And I'm going to change that idea to one wolf is fear and the other wolf is faith. And the grandfather tells his grandson that these two wolves are always battling each other. And the grandson says to his grandfather, well, grandfather, which wolf wins? Which wolf lives? And the grandfather says, the wolf that you feed. So I get to come here and remember to feed my faith and not my fear. I get to remember that fear arises from the belief that God is not at all what we claim it to be, which is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. And when I'm anchored in that knowingness, the wind can blow as hard as it wants, and I'm not afraid because I'm anchored and grounded in faith, thanks to you all. Ernest Holmes tells us that you must know that the power you are using is definite, scientific, dynamic, spiritual, absolute, complete, and that it will work. Let no fear come into your thought. He also tells us in the textbook that fear cannot find entrance to that mental home where God is enthroned as the supreme guest. When I feed my faith, my fear starves to death. So this is a wonderful time for us to come together, and I'm so grateful that you're all here, where we can remind each other that this is a time to be steadfast, knowing that no hurt, harm, or danger can come my way when I have faith by my side. And I'm grateful to all of you for reminding me of these principles that are set down in our textbook. I didn't write this. Ernest Holmes did. All of it. These aren't my ideas. They're ideas that I've come to embody thanks to the New Thought teachers who have gone before me. And we get to anchor those here with each other. So thank you for being here, and thank you for listening.
Morning, everybody. Nice to see you. Happy St. Patty's Day to everybody. I would like to thank Eden Living Good for playing violin today. All right. And she still had her hat from last year, which was fantastic. Goldstein on the keys and bass. I'd also like to thank Miss Brenda Moore for coming to sing today. Thank you very much. And Erica is down there playing the frame drum on the jigs. Thank you, Erica, very much. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Summertime is coming, and the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme grows around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go? I will build my love a bower near yon pure crystal fountains, and on it I will pile all the flowers of the month. Will ye go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming and the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme grows around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go? Thank you. Happy St. Patty's.
That was beautiful, yes? Thank you for that. Huh. We'll all go together. So let me briefly make some announcements about upcoming events here in our wonderful community. First of all, let me tell you that we have a wonderful minister sitting in the back of the room with her eyes closed. She's not sleeping. She's praying. She's holding us in consciousness for the highest and best unfoldment of this service in each of our lives. So if you would like to receive prayer with her, prayer is available after service in the front room, in our little treatment room, and she would be delighted, I know, to pray with you. Also, if you would rather have, we have forms that you can fill out to be held in prayer by the practitioner corps, and there should be one in your program, and there's a box on the counter in the lobby where you can place it, and the practitioners will pray for you as well. Wonderful celebration of life coming up for Reverend Jeannie's beloved husband who made his transition recently. So we're planning on meeting in Ventura at a particular location, which you'll see up there, on April 4th. It's a Saturday at 1 p.m., and many of us are going and carpooling. So if you'd like to come along and you need a lift, there's a sign-up sheet in Sparks Hall, and we can help organize carpool. Lake Tahoe raffle tickets are still available. Reverend Nancy has some. She's selling them in Sparks Hall. Marcy, do you have any left? Marcy has some. Kathy Lyons might have some left. So the drawing is today at our general membership meeting, and it will give you a week in Tahoe at a wonderful condominium with $100 to get up there. So it's a good deal, $10 a ticket, 3 for $25, and tickets are still available. And we do have our annual membership meeting this afternoon, right after service. People will clear out and come back in here. Yeah, why do they have to clear out if they're coming back? So you don't need to go anywhere. You can stay put. We have a couple of board members who are up for re-election, including myself as your board president. So we need for people to vote. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, those of you who acknowledged. I enjoy being your board president. I hope I get re-elected. But we have other board members who are up for re-election as well. It's a wonderful, cohesive board, and I hope that you deem it fit to continue as it is. So that's going to be right after service. Probably we'll get started at 12 o'clock. Choir rehearsal is ongoing on Mondays. If you like to sing and you're looking for a place to do it, we're still taking members in the choir. So we meet every Monday at 7 o'clock. Flourish is an ecological information that comes to us once a month via Milena. And it's a wonderful opportunity to hear about community activism, right? Where with regards to ecology, I don't know why I'm looking at you, but I know what it is. I come to almost all of them. I think I've missed one or two, but they're wonderful. And I'm not sure what's happening Wednesday, the 18th. Usually, Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, it's postponed. She was going to talk about Friends of the LA River, which do an annual cleanup every year, and it was scheduled to come up on April 11th, but with things going the way they are, they've postponed that. So she postponed her talk as well. And we had a concert coming up. Anton Mizarok was going to be here, but be informed that that has been canceled and postponed as well. We have bereavement support group coming up on March 22nd. I don't think that's been canceled. We have the Law of Attraction group coming up also on March 22nd. That will continue as planned, Mike, right? Reverend Nancy and I are beginning a Troward class, which we are anticipating will still go forward as planned on Thursday, March 26th. Judy Dunkley, our lay pastoral care person, is planning on a potluck on Sunday, March 29th to proceed as planned until further notice. Not the potluck, but the meeting. And then, of course, our annual Spring Fling is scheduled for April 25th. Tickets are going to be available apparently today after service, after our board meeting. And as far as we know, we are going to proceed with the Spring Fling as planned. It is on April 25th. It's a denim and diamonds theme with some line dancing. It's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully that will proceed as planned. So I think that's about all I've got for announcements. Please stick around for the membership meeting after service. And now is the time for us to stand up and recite our Declaration of Principles. If you would please join me in knowing this. We believe in one universal spirit, manifesting through all, natural, incarnated in us. We believe that the universal spirit is personal to and reveals itself through everyone who recognizes its presence. We believe that our faith operates upon a law of mind which audibly manifests in our experience according to that faith. We believe in the unity of all life and the immortality of the individual soul forever expanding. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the givingness of life to all. Please remain standing for our congregational song.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is
Very nice. So I have to take care of a little business here because we're on Facebook Live right now, and I'm going to invite our friends to, let's see, how can I do this? There we go. You can subscribe on our YouTube channel since you're watching us online if you haven't done that already. So there's the information, and hope to see you online. So I needed to do that because today is our general meeting, and we're going to try and do something different to ensure that we have enough for a quorum. So for those members who are joining us online, we're going to be streaming our general meeting, and people can check in and vote and be accounted for by going on the chat. So technology is coming through again. So yeah, kicking and screaming, baby. So it's been an interesting week, huh? Yeah, how's your 401? Yeah. So the great thing about that is that that thing that we've heard all our life, when you have your health, you have everything, we get to remember that. Right? We get to remember also that there is only one thing going on here, one power, one presence, one source, one life, one living intelligence, one pattern, indwelling pattern of perfection that is expressing as each one of us. And to the extent that we can connect with that and know this truth for our own, it's got to go beyond belief, it's got to be beyond talk. We have to know it. Then we become a shield, a consciousness of health that repels anything unlike the Spirit. Right? So that these, we have all kinds, the truth is that we have all kinds of pathogens in our environment right now. We're moving in through them all the time. And when we have a consciousness of health, we can repel it. And so that's what we're just knowing for each one of us and each one of our members, even as we practice a consciousness of public safety and public health through social distancing and all the rest of the things that they're asking us to do. And so we are meeting here today, at least live streaming, so it's important that you check your email starting, daily from Wednesday on just to see what's going on here. Okay? Enough said on that for now? Okay, so, and we're going to talk a little bit more about all this stuff here, because we have to. As I lick my fingers and touch my face and scratch my tuchus, which is probably the cleanest spot on me. But, all right. And today I'm also working with this book from Mirabai Starr, Wild Mercy. And so Andrea set things up so nicely. So by just reminding us that we are in spiritual community. And it's obvious that in spite of what the world is telling us is going on, that so many of you wanted to be here today. And it was important to me to have you here today. But I have to tell you, if I thought even one person would get sick, we would be closed. So it's not, I don't want you to think it's a flippant decision, because it's not. It's one made in consciousness and prayer, and it works for our community. So with that in mind, I want you just to think about the way this past week has gone, each within your own hearts. And if you feel comfortable, close your eyes and just take a deep, conscious breath and release. And this comes from this book by Mirabai. And I wanted to share with you the opening of her chapter, Laying Down Your Burden. So lay down your burden here. Come here. Gather your burdens in a basket in your heart and set them at the feet of the mother. Say this: Take this, great mama, because I cannot carry this stuff for another moment. And then imagine crawling up into her big, broad, cosmic lap and nestle against her ample bosom and take a nap. And when you wake, the basket will still be there, but half its contents will be gone, and the other half will have resumed their ordinary shapes and sizes, no longer masquerading as catastrophe, no longer masquerading as catastrophe, epic, chronic, and toxic, no longer masquerading as pandemic. The mother will clean things out and tidy up. And when we take our compulsions, there we'll transmute them, but only if they are freely offered. So why not? This is a little different from what religious scientists would typically think and say, but why not? Why not pretend that for now, the absolute, the great mystery, that ground of being sometimes expresses itself in the body of a woman? So we've been exploring this whole month in this idea of honoring the divine feminine in all, and our theme that the law as divine feminine, which is the creative medium. These are religious science terms, of course. We'll touch on that a little bit. We're going to speak to the law as womb. And I want to go on a little bit further, and just with this idea of why not consider the spirit as the feminine? Why not pretend for now that the absolute, the great mystery, the ground of being sometimes expresses itself in the body of a woman? So that in the Jewish tradition, not known for its feminist history, the holiest of holy days, I did not know this, the holiest of holy days, holier than the high holy days, is Shabbat. And she is female. Yes, the Sabbath itself is a feminine being, according to Mirabai. She is called the Shekinah, and she embodies the energies of both Malka, the queen, and Kala, the bride. She is the Holy Mother, favorite sister, intimate friend. She is the beloved. In Judaism's sister tradition, Christianity, she is Sophia, or Holy Wisdom. She goes on to say further in the book that the Sabbath then is about rest. The Sabbath is about rest and about laying down our burdens. So it's no small thing when you make the effort to get here on whenever you get here, Sunday, Wednesdays, whenever. It's no small thing. Because what we're doing is we're coming to create a field of consciousness where we can lay down our burdens and to practice knowing the truth with each other, particularly in trying times, so we can go out there and know the truth in the rest of our life as well. The 20th century spiritual activist Rabbi Abraham Joshua Herschel said this, that when we honor the Sabbath, that we build a temple in time and space. That we build a temple in time and space. And then Reb Zalman's widow, Eve, said this, that in the Jewish tradition of the Sabbath and doing nothing, that there's a feminine at work here. That the woman of the house, has prepared with care, making food ahead of time so that our labors and light when the Sabbath comes, it is a deeply receptive time of the spiritual zygote. A deeply receptive time. That Shabbat is the time of the spiritual zygote. Eve says a fusion of the DNA of the feminine and masculine principles of the universe, form and formlessness, earth and heaven. And both are important. For an egg without the seed is just an egg. So it takes both. Now, Ernest Holmes would say this a little differently. When he says a feminine principle is the universal soul, and that in the human it is the subjective or subconscious intelligence. The universal medium or soul has been called the womb of nature and the Holy Mother because it is receptive to the Spirit and is impregnated with divine ideas. So we spoke to this a little bit last week. The assertive masculine principle, which is thought itself, and the receptive feminine principle, which is the law, the holy womb of spirit, the creative medium, that our thought, the masculine, assertive masculine principle, the seed thought, placed within the creative medium as like soil, has within that seed thought all of the intelligence necessary to bring forth that plant, but can only bring forth the intelligence that's within the thought. And the law of the Spirit works like the soil. The soil doesn't think, I think I'll take this carrot seed and turn it into an avocado. Right? It knows only to respond to the intelligence within it. And in this same way, our thought, every thought, is a seed thought impressing itself within that aspect of the mind of the divine itself that knows only to say yes and to bring forth the intelligence within that thought. So we can see how we have this tremendous opportunity and maybe even a tremendous challenge ahead of us in these next few weeks. Right? Because I wanted to meet today not only because it's our general meeting, and not only because I was confident in right and perfect health expressing as each one here, but also because I acknowledge that we're at the front end of this thing. And we don't know when we'll be able to get together. I'm presuming we will be here, all of us, next week. I know for sure at least Ken and I will be here next week because we will be live streaming. But let's think about what's going on and how can we use what's going on in the outer condition to demonstrate our teaching not only to others but mostly to ourselves. So let's talk about healing strategies. So one of them, we don't want to tease the law, right? So we don't want to get on a bus and lick the bus pole and see if we can, we're going to prove our consciousness in doing silly things. No, we're going to practice social distancing because it would be silly to do that. That would be like, an alcoholic taking a drink to prove that they've been healed. That's what it would be. There's a word for that. It's called stupid. Right? So I put down the jug. St. Patrick's Day used to be my day. Right? I put the plug in the jug some 30 years ago. And I do get challenged by religious scientists sometimes. Well, if you're all whole, perfect, and complete and healed, then why can't you take a drink? Well, that's a good question. But I don't need to take a drink to prove that I've been healed. I can maintain abstinence and demonstrate that I have a healed consciousness in this. Now, I do have other areas. Perhaps some of you are well acquainted with those other areas. Right? This is the human condition. So we are going to be called to know life and to express life and to experience life in the ways that we teach around here and the ways that we have known it to demonstrate in the past. Right? That we know there is only one going on here. The Spirit expressing in, through, and as all of life. Expressing in, through, and as all of life, and impressing itself also. That we are open and receptive. Every time we turn our attention that way, we are open and receptive to experience the infinitude of good that God is by means of our life. That we must turn away from fear. Turn away from fear and know instead that if we're feeling fear and we're feeling a twinge of fear, it's time to stop and pray. And sometimes that prayer can be as simple as just stopping and taking a deep breath and knowing that I am the life of God expressing right now. And that's true whether it's a coronavirus or a bottle of Corona sitting in front of you, I suppose, right? Or on the freeway, or now in the checkout line. That we know that the truth is that it is an abundant universe, and we're seeing this demonstrating right now that it's not an abundance issue, it's a distribution issue. That statistics apply to groups, and we are not groups. We are individuals. We can be the outlier. So when we go to the market, we can know that a parking space will open up. We can know that what we need is there. Even as we know this truth for ourselves, we can know it for others. That we can know that this infinite power and presence, which is expressing itself, as Dr. Edward Villion says, as the most ancient name for God, which is love. And so really what we are going to be called to do now is to get out of our heads and into our hearts and allow the infinite power and presence of expressing as compassion to express itself fully, easily, and completely as our life. And as we know this truth for ourselves, we can know it for others. That this, as we align each thought with our cosmic DNA, which is this pattern of perfection, there's nothing we have to go looking for. We just need to go looking within with confidence, knowing that the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. That I am the living power and presence of the divine in expression. That all my thought is aligned right now with the infinite intelligence, the living intelligence of the divine itself, impregnating my consciousness with new and dynamic ideas to meet any need or challenge in my life. That I am opening up my heart right now to shift and lift the tendency of my thought against the other, and to make welcome the cosmic love, the cosmic sweep of love itself, to express fully and completely as my life, as peace, as harmony, as domestic tranquility, as serenity. That my relationships, whether in the job or at home, are peaceful and harmonious, respectful, free of judgment or recrimination of any kind. That we are knowing that at the level, the molecular level, through every cell, every muscle, every sinew, every organ, every function of the body is aligned with this highest vibration of the living spirit expressing as radiant good health. That this light of the divine is repelling anything unlike itself. And so we can walk with confidence. We can practice a consciousness of public safety, of public hygiene, to be mindful of creating these spaces, right? Because this corona idea of coronavirus is expressing itself perfectly as well, right? But we have nothing to be afraid of, only to be mindful of. Just like everything else. Just like everything else. So when we really know that we know that God is all there is, we can know and know that we know that God is backing our every play. And that if we get a sniffle or a cough, we know that this is just a little blip. And that we can just simply, oh yeah, I release any sense of confusion or congestion around this and invite the healing presence of the divine to make itself known. And I am open and receptive to divine guidance of when it's time to take action and go see a doctor, right? That I move into public spaces because I recognize and know the truth is that I am healthy and fit. And if I'm not, I stay home. It's just 2 weeks. I think we're going to see that this is going to crest fairly quickly, right? Because we are going to practice mindfulness and a consciousness of radiant good health for ourselves, knowing this truth of radiant good health for our fellows, for our country, and for our planet as well. So let's see, I'm going to leave you with this. Let me just put this up here. This is on Google. You can look it up earlier. Do the 5. So we can just, this too is consciousness. All right. So we'll let the musicians take their place. And so let's just think about how we're going to keep holy the Sabbath for the rest of this day. Recognizing and knowing that this infinite power and presence is available to us right now. Right now. That you're sitting in it, man. You're not sitting in it. You're sitting in it. The divine presence. There is no spot where God is not. So right where you sit, the Spirit dwells. And so we allow ourselves to feel the warmth and the caress of that sweet consciousness that is expressing love in all of its forms in, through, and as our life. That we know that thought by thought, our thought is shifted and lifted to higher realms of thinking. To know this truth not only for ourselves, but for our fellows. Not only for America, but for the planet as well. This is the power of consciousness and the power of conscious thought. That we remember that a trained thought is far more powerful than an untrained thought. And so, in the words of St. Paul, we keep our eyes single on the living Spirit and allow the infinite power and the presence of the divine to express itself in, through, and as all of life. And together we can know this by saying, and so it is.
and all the roses falling. 'Tis you must go, and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the shadows, or when the valley's white and touched with snow. 'Tis I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, I love you so. But when you come and all the flowers are dying, if I am dead as I may be, you'll come and find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave there for me, and I shall hear how soft you tread above me, and all my grave will warmer, sweeter be, for you will bend and tell me that you love me, and I shall sleep in peace until you come to me.
All right, that's Miss Brenda Silas Moore. Let's give it up. And so it is time for our offering. Just to keep in mind, one of the signs of a healthy spiritual community is through online giving. Many of you are already doing that. You may consider taking time to fill out that form and to practice your giving that way, particularly as we go through these next few weeks. Thank you. And and if you're still watching on Facebook, you can hit the donate button there. And if you're watching online, you can hit the donate button on our YouTube channel as well. So, and as for us, we're going to call forward our ushers this morning. Hello there, Reverend Michael McMorrow here. Glad you could join us today. We're so happy to have you joining us online. And so while we're taking the offering here in the sanctuary, I would love to invite you to support this online effort by going to our donate button, either at our website, CSLGH.org, or on our Facebook page, and donate as much as you dare to donate, or perhaps even consider making a regular monthly, weekly donation. Just know that every little bit helps, and that we so appreciate you joining us online and your giving commitment to help serve the center. So we're just grateful to have you here. And so thank you very much. Peace and blessings. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week online. All right, so we're still on Facebook. So Helen McCormick in Limerick, if you're still watching, or any of my cousins in Mayo or Leitrim, or my brother over in Germany, or any of my many cousins spread out across Europe, let's give them a hand and say hello. So Helen, that was for you, and thank you, band, for that great song. All right, so let's just go within for a moment longer, just recognizing and knowing that the gifts presented here this morning, whether through the offering basket or through our online contributions, that all of it is a demonstration of consciousness that knows and knows that it knows that God is our source, our substance, our supply. And so through the generous heart of the individual gifts given here this morning, represented by these baskets, we representing the heart of this spiritual community accept these gifts with deep appreciation, love, and respect as we know together they go forth to heal, to prosper, and to bless not only the vision and mission of this spiritual community, but the lives of everyone here this morning, the life and intention of each one here this morning, the life of anyone connected to our center in any way, that we extend this blessing of truth and healing to our friends here in our community of Granada Hills, our city of Los Angeles, our state of California, our United States of America, all of its churches, temples, mosques, schools, universities, the people who attend them, the people who support them, that we know for our planet as well, that a spiritual contagion of good is making itself known even now. And we call it forth and make it welcome. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. So please help me thank another board member, Marcy Cowan, and Miss Chloe. Yes. And so some of you are new here. So if you don't have one of these buttons, this is a shift and lift button. If you have one, this is the time to wear it. Because we're one person, we can shift and lift the consciousness of radiant good health and healing. So this is a little reminder for them and for us. So if you need one of these, or if you need another one, or if you know someone who really needs one, or if you're watching online and you would like one, I will mail one to you without licking the envelope and spread the word that God is good by means of each one of us. And so let's call forward Andrea to pray us out. And so what we're going to do is we're going to restore our personal comforts, and then we're going to come back in for our meeting. So just make it quick, right? Just stop and drop and get back in here. And then, and we're going to eat afterwards. And I know that was a little crude. I didn't mean it to sound that way. So if you're watching for the first time, don't hold me personal accountable. It's the virus. And then if you're watching online, stay tuned, and we'll tell you how to participate in our meeting as a member. All right. So let's thank Brenda Silas Moore one more time. You can turn that off now if you like. Eden Living Good, our fiddle player this morning. The lovely Miss Erica Francis, our percussionist extraordinaire. Mr. Jason Goldstein, our music director, Ken Francis. Thank you all for being here, and stick around. The fun's just begun.
So please join me once again in consciousness as we come together in consciousness as community, recognizing the divine as all creation. Knowing, in fact, that there is one power, one presence, one life of all, and no other power can exist outside of this infinite intelligence, this divine and perfect love intelligence that governs the universe. We join in conscious community, knowing that God is all there is, that we are divine, perfect, and whole expressions of it. Moving forward this day in that consciousness, that united consciousness of oneness, knowing that the divine is alive and well and strong and healthy and whole as our life And as we go forward into Smart and Final or Ralph's or Vaughn's or wherever we go, we lift the consciousness of those around us, knowing that there is but one thing going on, and that is God, and it is the one and the only power, and we express ourselves as it in health, in wholeness, in love, in harmony, in peace, in joy, in abundance, in prosperity, in divine right action, perfect order, knowing that it is all good because it's all God. And in this consciousness, we move forward into this day, into this week, into this lifetime of life and love and wholeness. Please join me in knowing that this is how we proceed, by saying together, and so it is. Amen. Right. Please just stand and join us in a circle without holding hands as we sing the peace song.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God
Happy St. Patty's, everybody.